Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel Quaint. Today we are diving into a fascinating topic: why pear-shaped fat distribution in women is not just for looks but also about protection against serious metabolic disorders. Okay, so you know that women are often described as pear-shaped and apple-shaped with respect to their fat distribution. Pear-shaped and apple-shaped. So in case of pear-shaped women, the location of the fat storage is mainly thighs, hips and buttocks. And in case of apple-shaped fat distribution, okay, location of fat accumulation is mainly belly and waist. So you can see two different locations are there, and according to these two different locations, that means according to these two body shapes, pear-shaped and apple-shaped women, okay, these fat distribution have great impacts on their health. So what happens actually in case of pear-shaped women, location is what? Location of fat storage, it is thighs, hips and buttocks. So you know that in that region, thighs, hips and buttocks, there is no vital organ. Is there any vital organ in that region? No, there is no vital organ. So here the fat which is available in that region, means thighs, hips and buttocks, in that region the fat is mostly subcutaneous fat, type of fat. Okay, this is mostly subcutaneous fat. This fat is less harmful for the women. Actually, nature has designed women's body this way. If fat is stored in those regions like thighs, buttocks and hips, so that acts as an energy bank. For what purpose? For the purpose of pregnancy and breastfeeding. And this type of fat means subcutaneous fat, which is actually available just under the skin. Okay, subcutaneous fat, this is less harmful for women. But in case of apple-shaped, where the location of fat accumulation is what? It is belly and that waist region. Here the fat available is mostly visceral fat type. Visceral fat, it is not subcutaneous fat. It is visceral fat, and this fat is actually harmful for the women. Okay, why? Because visceral fat means this fat mostly wraps around the vital organs. Because this fat is available actually in the belly region, in the waist region. So this visceral fat wraps around vital organs. And this visceral fat releases inflammatory chemicals and hormones, which actually these two things, inflammatory chemicals and hormones, these two things actually increase the risk of metabolic disorders, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. So these are harmful in nature. If fat accumulates in your belly region, in your waist region, in that case. Right now we are actually talking about only younger women. Okay, so this is harmful, and I have already mentioned that pear-shaped fat distribution, that is good for, actually women look good if they have pear-shaped fat distribution. This is well known to everybody. They look good for this reason. And that's why since that fat, subcutaneous fat, does not wrap any vital organs, so that actually lowers the risk of metabolic disorders, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc. So now you know the difference between pear-shaped fat distribution and apple-shaped fat distribution. Okay, which is actually desired, you can easily understand. Not only for good looking, but if you consider the health, if you consider the risk of diseases, in that case also, always pear-shaped fat distribution that is desired. But what happens after the menopause? After a certain age, women face this thing, menopause. So what happens after the menopause? Actually, after the menopause, you know that hormonal shifts are there, hormonal changes are there. And due to hormonal changes, what happens actually, the shift occurs, shift of fat from thighs, hips and buttocks. From this region, this fat actually shifts to what? Belly, waist, this area. Means a shift of fat occurs due to menopause. So, there is a increased risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, etc. For whom? For post-menopausal women. Okay, they have a higher risk of metabolic disorder, cardiovascular diseases. For what? Since fat distribution changes, or the location of the fat storage that changes, that shifts from those areas. Okay, that means you can easily understand that when fat accumulates below your waist region, that is good for your health. When fat accumulates below your waist region, because there are no vital organs and the fat available under the skin is only subcutaneous type, which is less harmful to your health. But in case of visceral fat, which is available in your belly region, in your waist region, that wraps around the vital organs and releases those inflammatory chemicals and hormones, and those increase the risk of those metabolic disorders, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc. Now you can easily understand, I think, the difference, okay? Not only for good looking, but also for good health, pear-shaped fat distribution is desired. Anyway, but for postmenopausal women, everyone is at higher risk of such diseases because shift occurs. Shift of what? Shift of fat occurs from those regions, thighs, buttocks and hips, to belly and waist region. Anyway, so this was all about today's topic, and this is the end of this video. If you found this video helpful, so please like, share and subscribe to our channel. This is the end. Thanks for watching.